All right. Good evening, podcast world, and all those folks out on Facebook Live. It's time for another episode of Things My Mother Never Told Me. Say
Yes,
hey, Kenya.
everybody. Thank you for joining in with us this evening.
We got another one, our special guest.
Yes.
I guess we're gonna start calling the Cast Tech Mafia.
Yeah.
All right.
How you doing, Kim?
Real good.
Okay, like I was telling you before we got started, Tanya's gonna read some things off your bio, and then we're gonna jump in and let you tell your story.
Okay.
All right. Now we have today Miss Kim Tucker-Billingslea. She's a passionate, productive senior environmental project engineer at General Motors with over 35 years of experience directing site remediation strategies to large, complex sites. As a strong leader, she has demonstrated integrity, technical competence, emotional intelligence, and effective communication with regulatory agencies, city officials, and community stakeholders. She's a native Detroiter, and she had a passion for science, technology, engineering, and math. The STEM project began in the Detroit Public School. What about this? Cass Tech, everybody. She attended Cass Tech High School, and she graduated from the Architectural, Civil, Construction, Technology curriculum. And she participated in a dual degree program at Clark College. And you know, that's a HBCU and Georgia Technology University for her first year of school. And she continued her education at Wayne State University right here in Detroit, obtaining a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and a Master of Science in Hazardous Waste Management. Beautiful, beautiful. One of her career highlights, of course, was the former Hyatt Clark Industries site located in Clark, New Jersey. She managed a $100 million remediation and redevelopment at an 88-acre abandoned industrial site in GM's first golf course, a public scenic regulation 9-hole golf course with miniature golf and clubhouse. And now it's called the Hyatt Hills Golf Course. Wonderful. I know they're glad about that because me and my husband are avid golfers too.
All right.
Yes, but you have so many professional images. One is like the National Society of Black Engineers, all that stuff, community recognition all over, just outstanding. But we're going to let you tell your story.
Say welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love the title of this blog, Things My Mother Never Told Me. And I was sharing my mother, she was an educator. Mm-hmm. And so she really instilled in me to plan. Okay. Proper planning prevents poor performance.
Yes.
You better say it again.
Yes.
I got it. Yeah, the 5 P's.
5 P's, yeah.
Yeah, and she said, if you don't plan, then anywhere will do. And so I took that to heart. And I'm glad because what she never told me is because she never got a chance to, because she transitioned early in my life. So all that she planted in me during my preparation for career is what I took to the next steps. Okay. And one of the things that she told me is to wear people like a loose garment. And, and that definitely has helped through this career, having been in it about 40 years, and there weren't many people that looked like me when I entered.
Right.
And so it's been an exciting journey. Just looking how God has opened those doors for me to take me to where I am now, and has preserved my job and has put me in places where I've enjoyed what I do. Mm-hmm. And that really has allowed me to stay. I've been at General Motors 39 years, and so you don't see that a lot now. And through a lot of the downturns, he preserved my job, so it was never, transitioned out. And always had productive things to do. So I have no complaints on the road that he's allowed me to be on these almost 40 years with General Motors.
Yes,
Well, all
yes,
right
yes,
then.
yes, yes.
So let me ask you a question, because this is interesting. Now, I was at CAS a couple weeks. I don't remember hearing about that curriculum. and, and what made you choose that?
Well, at first I wanted to go into whatever curriculum had the most electives, meaning the most free time where I could choose what I wanted to and not be challenged.
Mhm.
And so I was going to go into distributive education.
Okay.
And so my mother looked at that and is like,
What does that mean? What does that even mean?
Yeah, because I always did well in science and math, and I was always like competitive in school with my grades, and not knowing that a high grade point average would help pave the way, to
Mhm.
places that you wanted to go. I just wanted to have an A because I was competitive, and A's were what I was going after. So my counselor at that time was the head of the architectural, civil, and construction technology group. And I was in the 9th grade. You had to choose what you're going to go into
Right.
in your 10th grade. So, and my boyfriend was in that curriculum. So I said, well, okay, I'll try that.
Well, all righty then.
Yeah. So I tried it, and actually I really connected with it. I wanted to be an architect. But my father told me that he worked around some architects and they weren't really hiring a lot of architects at that time.
Mhm.
And that civil engineering was close to architectural. So I
Okay.
said, well, okay, I'll take a look at that, the civil engineering degree. And then Clark College was offering a scholarship to go into the dual degree program. And I
Okay.
had always wanted to go to an HBCU. My mother had gone to one. And so I
Mhm.
said, and my grandmother as well.
Hmm.
And so I said, well, let me go on into this. And they were offering money. And so so I went down to Clark College.
Mhm.
And actually I had I was considering going between two schools, U of M and Clark College. And U of M, and I backtracked because I'm glad things have changed. U of M
Mhm.
had this program at the time where if you were Black, you had to enter in under this CULS program, which meant Coalition of Underlearning Students.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I am not an underlearning student.
Right.
And I don't want to be tagged with that. And that program, you had to take all these classes that were like remedial classes to help
Mhm.
you do well in the classes that would really count towards your degree. And I'm like, I don't want to waste money taking things that are not counting towards my degree.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I chose Clark College.
No wasting your money.
Well, you know what? It's funny because when I think about it, I think most of the universities up here had programs like that for Black students. They call them all various things.
Yeah.
You know, at Western they had the MLK program.
Okay.
but it was a summer thing though. You went up in the summer, but the gist of it was to get you acclimated to being in college because
Yeah.
you're Black and you're not used to that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, I
Eastern had upper bound.
Mhm.
See. So
yeah. And so I'm so glad things have changed, and at least they're classifying things different, even if they have the same mindset.
right.
Yes.
So that
Right.
you're not tagged, and that you are given an opportunity to demonstrate that you can perform.
Yes.
And that's what makes a difference. Sometimes you do need a little extra help
Yes,
depending
you do.
on
Mhm.
how much math you've taken, how much. But at CAS, we were exposed to,
A lot of stuff.
quite a bit.
Yes.
Calculus.
Yeah, more extensive.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So
right.
I didn't consider myself underlearning.
Right. Well, most of the students when we came out of CAS, quite a few students were going straight into the workforce
Yeah.
from their curriculum. So
Mhm.
whatever their curriculum
Right.
was, they were ready. They were
Right.
beyond college. Yeah. So
Mhm.
how dare they?
And we're able to excel and do well. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Without a
Mhm.
doubt. So you did a dual degree at Georgia Tech too, huh?
Yes. But I only stayed at Clark a year. My career, I always define it as having been flexible,
Mhm.
so that I don't get stuck in a mindset or trying to please somebody by staying here. When I finished the first year at Clark, I was offered a summer intern at Ford Motor Company. And so
Okay.
I always like to, I had determined that I would work in the field and see that I liked what I was preparing to be,
Mhm.
so that I wouldn't find myself 4 years having studied to do this job and that I hate it.
Right.
And so I worked for Ford Motor Company that summer, and I actually ended up getting engaged. So I came back and started it's your face. And I started at Wayne State. But I just look at the providence of God. In my mind, I thought I was coming back to be close to my fiance because he lived in Detroit.
Mhm.
But at Wayne State, that's where I really, there was a gentleman that was saved in 2 of the 3 classes that I had to take, and he invited
Mhm.
me to his church. And that just began my career with the Lord.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. And so I was introduced to a lot of people at Wayne State that actually went to that church, and I got saved, and I would see how God would just honor my faithfulness at church, and allow me to still sail through these classes and get
Wow.
A's, and it just opened the door for a lot of opportunities while I was at Wayne State. And
Okay.
so it made the difference. Again, we might think we have one thing, going for one purpose.
Exactly.
And God steps in and gives you illumination on what his plan
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Much
Yeah.
better than ours.
Right.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
he the one that moved you from Clark.
Place
Right,
to place.
right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, so you think that's why you going back to Detroit? Okay, cool.
right.
You can think that it'll make it easy for me to get you back there because that's what you
Yeah.
think.
Oh, yeah, it's always our thought
Right.
in my mind.
Now that I got you here.
Right, right.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
It is. That's a nice little story.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So you got all these awards, all these honors. Tau Beta Phi Engineering Honor Society. All right. And
I tell you, again, I was there weren't a lot of people that looked like me in my classes, and they probably were always surprised that I was getting high grades in these classes without necessarily collaborating with the other students in the class, because a lot of students, they would just group together, study together,
right.
and support each other. And I remember specifically in one class where they were comparing the grades of from that previous test, and none of them had this grade. It's like, well, who got the 96%? And so the teacher pointed me out. So they had to invite me into their honor societies. I met the qualifications.
Right.
I wasn't, necessarily collaborating with them, but I met the qualifications. And so I was in the Civil Engineering Honor Society, the Engineering Honor Society, and then the Graduate Honor Society. And so again, it's a God thing where he, opens the doors that no man can shut.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Paves the way. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear.
Even my and I talked about the job that really was the highlight of my career.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, relocating to New Jersey. And I started just thinking about it, where I got exposed to a whole lot of environment. That's where I started environmental.
Okay.
I started off at Bechtel Power Corporation. I had worked for them as a student in Wayne State. I was a co-op student, and I really liked what the atmosphere at Bechtel Power Corporation and what they were doing. And then the money was good when I graduated. So I accepted their offer, and they are the largest engineering construction firm in the world at that time. And they were building cities in Saudi Arabia, and just all.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but the project that they were doing here locally, I could tell that that project was doomed to never open. It was a nuclear power plant.
Oh,
And trying to cut corners and hire people that were not the contractors who were the low bidders and not
Okay.
necessarily the most qualified. Um, the construction was not going very well.
right.
Okay.
Right.
And for a nuclear power plant, you want things to be
Top notch. Top
Yeah.
notch.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
serious.
So an opportunity came up because I was participating in this committee at Wayne State as an alumni. Always try to keep, just engaged with what's going on in the community. And he asked me if I was interested in working for General Motors, and I didn't know General Motors hired civil engineers at that time.
Right.
So I was
right.
like, yeah. And he said, well, give me your resume. And so I did, and then the rest is history.
Wow.
And I was able to bring a lot of my friends from Wayne State in
Oh, wow.
at that time because GM was hiring African Americans.
Okay.
Yeah, because they had a low percentage in their hiring rate at that time. And so since I knew a lot that were in engineering,
Right.
they were able to come in and really integrate the groups that they were in.
Mm-hmm.
But this project, I wanted to get into the construction group, and that wasn't the group that I hired in. But again, just looking forward and planning what the steps are in construction is what I wanted to do. I interviewed with the construction department head for a position, and they were not excited about having a woman in
Of course.
construction.
Of course.
Um, so they said at least I wasn't a little bitty person. And so I heard later that some of the other people didn't expect me to do well on that project. But again, when God is on your side and making things happen
Right.
and moving stuff and open doors, that same person who didn't really want me to be in the department, we became really good friends.
Oh,
That's the emotional intelligence part, not holding things against people, but
Right.
working through it. That project exposed me to the environmental field because everything at the site was considered hazardous. There was 1,000 drums that were unmarked. It was just a site that one of the local lawyers there called it Beirut. And so the exposure to fix the problem and the issue that was there caused me to have to start studying the environmental field. And so I started training in the environmental field and taking classes and just like anything in life, you have to go through continuous improvement.
Right.
Taking classes to understand what was going on. And even now, a lot of the classes that I take, environmental justice, to just understand,
Yes.
the impacts that are going on in the communities so that I can be effective after I graduate from GM and move on to doing something else. So so that project, it was one of a kind, and I don't think GM will be building any more golf courses. But during that time, I was introduced to a church where the pastor was really into studying the Black presence in the Bible.
Okay.
And so that's where I really got my appetite wet for studying, again, that continual education,
Right.
the environmental education piece, but now the Christian education piece with a twist to see where we are represented, in the scripture, and to have it based in solid foundation. And so this pastor, he had studied to be a lawyer, but God had a different plan for him.
Right.
So then he was like a teacher. And so digging into the weeds. So that's a passion that I have. And I really try to bring that out anytime I'm teaching or, just studying to share how we are represented and how we've been represented throughout the beginning, from the beginning.
Yes.
And something that just has whet my appetite, like when you see all of those committees that I'm involved in, is because unfortunately, the percentage of African American and women in the STEM fields is almost the same as it was when I entered. And then
Wow.
you see that 40 years
Right.
later. It's
Right.
not. And some of the statistics say that of those that are getting the degrees, between the ages of, say, like 25 and 34, maybe only 5% are still working in that field if they've even gotten the degree.
Okay.
We need to be represented and understanding that things are moving so much into the technical piece, that to have sustainable jobs that will give good incomes, we need to increase those percentages going into
Mhm.
the STEM fields.
Right.
And so a lot of times I didn't know what an engineer was when I entered.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so if you're not interacting or present, I try to go to the elementary schools to put a
Okay.
face to an engineer and to say that you can do this. I went through the Detroit public school systems and even Wayne State,
Mhm.
and it'll prepare you for a good career.
Mhm.
You just have to continue to, if you do hit roadblocks, continue to keep moving.
Right.
And one of the things my mother did tell me is one semester at a time, because I used to get really frustrated.
Overwhelmed. Mhm.
Yeah, frustrated and overwhelmed because I didn't want to just take classes, but I wanted to get an A, of course. And so that takes extra. Uh,
Yes.
and so sometimes it would just be overwhelming. And I wanted to make sure that I participated like in church, and so that,
Sure.
Mhm.
that nothing was lacking. So, and I remember it seemed like we would always have a week of revivals during final week.
There's the Lord interceding again.
Yeah, yeah,
Now let me
yeah.
real.
And so to go to the, go
I'm gonna
ahead.
say real quick because I know you want to, because we had I guess it's a question.
Hmm.
With one Deborah's out there, she said, "Hey, CT in the house," but Ray Nelson was talking about his son went from chemical engineering to a patent attorney, and then he said need for other young, gifted, and Black students. And I guess he's asking the question how, which I want to get recognize his question, but I think that's what you're telling us right now
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
how.
yeah. How, if that's your passion, and so a lot of times, because it takes math and science,
Mhm.
but that's all you need in order to pass the courses. When your actual career is not full of math and science,
Right.
if you don't want it to be. The path that I chose, the environmental engineer piece, I don't have to use a lot of math and science, but it helps me, it trained me on how to solve a problem. So what I learned is, in order to understand how to solve the math problem, I have to understand the foundation of, what they're asking. And
Okay.
so it teaches you problem solving, and that's what engineers are. They solve problems. And so when you can encourage the student not to get um, overwhelmed by the math and the science, and just take, again, one semester at a time. You may not necessarily, get an A in all of the math, but you complete it and you keep moving forward. And so when you get the job, you kind of make your way through. It doesn't matter what you got in your math class
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
and your science class. It's your ability to communicate. Actually, communication is a piece that they
Well,
don't really highlight,
everything.
because if you have an invention and you can't tell anybody about it, or
Right.
write down, what your thoughts are and thinking, then
Mhm.
it's not really effective. So there's a combination of skills that you learn in school that you take, to the next step.
Mhm.
And actually, even though the collaboration, being involved in the community, meeting people, having mentors, and talking to people
Networking.
that have
Yeah.
been,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the fields. And it's a lot easier to network now than it used to be.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Sure.
you find
Sure.
yourself on being invited to a lot of different places, these formats here that people can get in touch with you, or you can get in touch with them and find out more about their path and how they got where they are. And so,
right. Okay. Yeah. Cause they sent me the rest of that question, and it was, how do we motivate them?
okay. Yeah.
And
But,
so, yeah.
well, for me, when you can introduce the kinds of fields that can be attractive.
Mhm.
Say, I knew that I was not the type of person that would want to sit down and design a brake and,
Mhm.
keep redesigning brakes for
Right.
cars.
Right.
It just didn't
Yeah.
connect with me. So the bigger picture, buildings, building buildings, and so that connected with me. And then since we were not constructing buildings, but we were tearing them down,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the environmental piece came in, because you had to clean them up
Sure.
before you could.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just the different things that are happening, like the Flint water crisis and
Mhm.
Yes.
COVID.
I was thinking about that while you were
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, that the pollution, the air pollution that exacerbated COVID in some of the underserved communities of color, where it got impacted more because their systems have been compromised because of what they've been breathing,
Right.
just based on
Sure.
some of the systemic racism
Uh-huh.
that allows pollution in certain areas. And
Mm-hmm.
so, just a passion for making a difference in something that you can connect with. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I love traveling. I like nice things. And so money, money,
Money always motivate.
yeah, money is a motivator. And I wanted to be comfortable,
Yes.
and have, comfortable while I'm working, and then comfortable when I move on to the next, and enjoy and travel, and just have that flexibility. And I tell you, just the kingdom principles give us access to that. And
Mm-hmm.
we can utilize it,
Yeah.
right.
I know.
And
But you
life,
Mhm.
life, abundant life is what
Right.
I'm.
Yeah, just like you said, just get out there and network. Join,
Yeah.
join these different groups.
Right.
You know
Mhm,
what I'm saying?
mhm,
Just,
Right.
just go out there and look them up and find something,
Right.
mhm,
And
be
mhm.
really interested.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something you said earlier too that I want to loop back to. Uh, when you were saying that the person who was most against you coming in there wound up becoming a good friend of yours.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think that shows us that we, being Christian, we understand this, is that we need to take the high road in a lot of
Mhm,
situations, because you never know why a person was against you,
mhm,
because
mhm.
obviously it has nothing to do with you.
Right, right.
It's all about them. So
Mhm,
you being you,
mhm.
unapologetically you, made that person change their
Mm-hmm.
Right,
perception of you,
right.
because
And
now they
their
can see the
history,
God in you. Yeah.
they may have had, a history where, they had a bad
That's
experience.
bad experience. You're right. You're
Who
right.
who hasn't had a bad experience,
Right,
at least at
right.
our
Right.
age?
Yeah, yeah. But, we're all unique. And so,
Yeah.
y-
And once we
yeah,
sit down and have a conversation with that person, they be like,
absolutely.
I would have never thought you would have said something like that, or you would
Yeah,
never, you know what I'm saying?
right,
And it
right, right,
goes from
right.
there.
Okay,
Yeah,
here's
yeah.
another question for you.
Okay.
Would you say that we need, and this from Reverend Craig Esther, would you say that we need more mentors in the field of engineering to encourage our young people to keep pushing when it gets tough? I think you just froze. Oh, there you go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and I say you need to start in the elementary schools. That's been one of the targets for me.
Right.
Um, the elementary schools, you start with their young. Um, I've worked or just talked with second graders, third graders, and we go through this program, A World in Motion, and they have a lot of fun with it. And they say, and you just see the sparks, and they're answering questions, and they're solving problems. They're redesigning what we're
Mm-hmm.
working on and making.
Yes.
And it's like, I can do this, this, and it's and I try to come in as like I like frilly, I like jewelry, and just
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
so
right. That's
to
right.
encourage the girls that you can go into the science field and you don't have to be hard, and
Mhm.
it's not a classification. You write your own, classification.
Right.
And
Mhm.
Right.
so, and even engineers, they design jewelry, they design makeup, and there's so many fields,
Oh, you
machines
are
that make
not
makeup,
kidding.
Mhm.
and so we talk about that too, all the different things that engineers do, because a lot of times you don't know, the kids don't know what's
Right.
out there
Mhm.
and what's available. And since a lot of times their parents weren't engineers and they're not
Mhm.
necessarily able to show. And a lot of times I tell them, this one guy said his coolest job was he had to make a machine that caused ice cream to taste a certain way. So he would have to test the ice cream to make sure that he was meeting the standards. But it's like, so somebody's making machines to do a lot of things that we use, and they're things that you can connect with, and you don't think about that when you think about an engineer, so
Right.
you have
Mhm.
this narrow point of view, and so it just opens up to the possibilities. And I had one teacher tell me that one of her second grade students came back to her. She ended up going into engineering because of what she had been exposed to in her class. And
Mhm.
she went on to compete and do well. And she came back to thank her and let her know that pivot point for her when she was introduced to engineering in the second grade. And it's like,
Mhm.
so we have to get out there and do more of that
Yeah.
exposure, onto all of the careers. And there is a lot that is available and out there, and it can be lucrative.
Right.
Yeah, you know
Right.
what, on the news the other week they got a science thing with the science of the cookie.
Oh yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, oh my God, that is so, because we think you put
Uh-huh.
that little dough together and stuff, but we got to add all these other different little ingredients
Right,
to
right,
make that
right.
thing taste good. And it's just like,
Yeah,
it's the science of it all, forming and being able to rise and all the chemicals that need to be put together to do that.
Right.
yeah.
And we got a 4-year-old, my nephew has a 4-year-old, and he loves cars.
All
And
right, and
we was
see,
just and he got trucks and what's he just loved everything about the
yeah,
car. And so
yeah.
then we said, yeah, you need to take him to the,
To the
the
truck
little
show, the
truck
monster
show
truck show.
and all of these,
Right, right.
yeah, because he just love them. He just carry a car everywhere
Yeah,
he goes. And I say, he's trying to tell you something right there.
yeah. And I've heard people say that. They said that, so they would take it apart, put it together. And so
Yes.
and so that's just something that's how their brain was working.
That's how
Right.
it,
And so, they got training so that they ended up becoming like a vice president in design and automotive. So, you don't know what seeds are being planted.
Right.
And
Mhm.
exposure to a lot of different careers helps the students kind of narrow down what's connected
Mhm.
and
Sure.
what's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I want to ask you another question. I ain't thinking about these people online.
Uh-huh.
Now so you went to New Jersey
Uh-huh.
and you were working on the project where they did the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
What role did you play in that whole process?
I was the construction field representative,
Mhm.
project manager. And so what we do is hire consultants
Okay.
and contractors to do what we need to do. And so I have been in rooms conducting bid walks, for people to bid on the project.
Mhm.
And I've been the only female and the only African American, and having to, uh, guide them through how to prepare the bid, for what we're doing. And I had this one guy pull me aside once. He said, you know what? I had to take my hat off to you. You seem so very comfortable in this room with all men,
I know it's
and
your
none of
pretty
them, none
self.
of them,
Yeah.
look like you. Yeah. Yeah. But again, it's because of the relationship with God, and
Okay.
and who he's made me, and knowing that he just fortifies me in what I do. And
Mhm.
so he's the affirmer. And so I'm not, looking for, other people to validate what I know. And
Uh-huh.
so
Giving you that
and
beautiful spirit.
And prepared, it's like being prepared. I find, like my mom said, proper preparation
Right,
prevents poor performance.
right. That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
being prepared, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you're doing your job and you expect them to do theirs.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. And you stand on that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because that's a lot of stuff you've been talking about is things I've been thinking about for the last couple weeks anyway. And I would say, you can chime in on this, that a lot of young people and even grown folks, because it's not too late, because you talk about when you transition to your next phase. So
Yeah.
right, so obviously that means this ain't it for you.
Right, right.
It ain't the last step. But we need to not be afraid to step out on what it is that we want to do and trust God that he's going to give it to us. But we got to not be afraid to make that move.
Yeah, yeah. And you read it all the time as far as risk takers.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing precedes a failure but a try.
Right,
Mhm.
And so if you never try, you'll never know.
right.
And
And
so
if you never failed, you never tried.
right, right.
Right.
And you see that consistent pattern through so many of the inventors and so many people that have been successful. Even Hershey, the one who came up with the chocolate, it's like
Yes.
things didn't start off so well. You
Mhm.
have a lot of people that became millionaires and billionaires after bankruptcies and failures and
Yes.
different things like that. But they
Mhm.
kept on going, like my mom said, just one semester at a time. So that was an
Mhm.
experience, but don't let it stop you. Just
Mhm.
keep on moving forward.
Mhm.
Yeah, and especially with that desire, because when that desire and that passion is there, and it's like God gives us those desires a lot of times to move forward, and He's looking for somebody so that He can show Himself strong in their lives,
Mhm.
and it's like I need Him to show up strong in a lot of
Yeah, we
situations.
right.
So
Right.
We get
yeah,
mhm,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
lose our focus, and
Mm-hmm,
you're so
mm-hmm.
right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Mm-hmm.
fear and anxiety set in, and then you see somebody over there trying to improve what you started on. So then
Right,
you got to
right.
go another level. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
so what I want to go to is that in here you talk about your having a son who's differently abled,
Yeah.
and that you were given the All-Star Mom Award from a Deeper Life Gospel Center. And what's that like? The doing all
Wonderful.
that you're doing.
His name is Joshua.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember I met him.
yeah, yeah. His name is great because he's fought a lot of battles.
Mm-hmm.
God fighting for him. He had a lot of challenges. He has diagnosed, and I say diagnosed with Down syndrome because I'm looking for some miracles in that area as
Okay.
well. So that's his diagnosis. Um, and so during his first 3 years, he was hospitalized maybe 14 times.
Mhm.
And sometimes like 5 weeks in intensive care.
Mm.
And so I was a work from home mom a lot of time before work from home was popular.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a blessing working at GM again, just being planted there because they let me do that. I would have
Mm-hmm.
meetings, conduct meetings sometimes from the intensive care unit.
Wow.
And so he even had this time where the doctors, they didn't think I understood what they were explaining to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and so they even had told my parents so that my parents could, explain to me what he was going through. And I guess because they felt like he may not be making it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
And I,
Right.
was able to repeat it to you, but that's not but all is well. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
where I'm standing. and you do what you can do, you
Right.
know,
Right.
and I'm doing what I can do, and that's interceding and praying. And I called my pastor so that, and you know, just the whole church family behind just interceding for him. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, he came through that looking like, and I took a picture of him and I sent it to them, and
Mhm.
they posted it on their wall in the intensive care unit. It's like, is this the same kid? Because the respiratory therapist even came to me. She said, I didn't think that he was going to make it, you know, and
Mhm.
it's like we
Mm-hmm.
were working really hard. We were working really hard with him, but and it's like, you know, but God,
That's right. That's
you
right.
know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And he had, you know, some other situations where um in the NICU they call it different. They don't call it cold blue.
Mhm.
They, you know, call it something else, but his respiratory rate was like dropping way down.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into interceding in my heavenly language at that time, and they were looking at me. It's like, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay. You do what you need to do."
That's right. That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
And I'm doing what I know works, you know. And so
Yes.
again, he was on failure to thrive watch when he was 9 months old because
Mm.
of all the sicknesses, and he hadn't gained weight or anything. So you see him today, buddy, you wouldn't know that he was on any failure to thrive watch. He loves to eat,
Mhm.
and he is just his teachers just all say thank you for sharing him with us because of how he just engages,
Mm-hmm.
and how he's a smiler too, and he loves
Mm-hmm.
to hug, and you know, he just has that kind of interaction. And
Yes.
so they wanted it to put him on all different kind of medications, and I didn't want him to be a zombie.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So I refused those medications, and so that he, you know, could experience life
Right.
Mm-hmm.
you know, in his perspective. And so he loves Sesame Street. He loves Disney, so we make as many trips as possible.
Okay.
They got to the
Good.
point some of the workers recognized him, you know, and they had even brought him up on stage once.
All right.
So
All
he could
right.
dance, you know, with them
Wonderful.
and have a photo shoot opportunity.
Great.
But you know, God has just worked miracles, and so that's why the All-Star Mom just and sometimes like the events at the church, like I might come from intensive care, you know, to participate or decorate for an event, and obviously I didn't look like what I was going through, and
Right.
again, that's a God thing because people
Say it
will look at me,
again. Say it
you know.
again.
And so yeah, you know, just God, his hand has been there all through everything.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
yeah, I
That's
could have
right.
landed at a company that was not that flexible.
Of
I've been
course.
at work, I was at work where I would get a call that that he was gonna he had to go to emergency, and then they were getting ready to medevac him to U of M
Mm.
because of, you know, what he was going
Going
through.
through.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I have to write a note to my admin to let her know that I'm leaving because I can't talk about it, you know, at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And it's
Sure.
like, you know, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Well,
So
all right.
Praise
yeah,
God on that
yeah.
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And so that has opened up a whole different perspective as well for differently abled people. And we GM even has this Able Infinity group where you're leveling the playing field, and making things accessible for everyone. And
Yes.
so you start recognizing those changes in design. And so again, an engineer whose passion was for making things available and accessible for everybody, has started designing, you know, things that the cars would accommodate, and
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
you know, just the accommodation. And so again, passion, connection with the engineering has solved some problems, you know, that have helped people and made this
Oh,
place a
yes.
better place. Yeah,
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Right.
yeah.
yes, yes.
So I mean, you got a busy, busy life.
Yes.
And so I'm gonna ask a silly question because you've told us a lot of what I'm about to ask you. What do you do for fun?
You know what? Actually, I love traveling,
Mhm.
and I travel several times a year, going to
Okay.
different places. And um, Joshua, he loves traveling as well. Um, and actually, church and studying and teaching is fun for me. And so
Okay.
I'm very involved in my church.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so there's just so many outlets that build and make life full, you
Oh,
know,
yes.
and abundance, and even just so many different areas. I like going to theaters and well, plays.
Yes,
Yeah.
me
Plays.
too. Me
Yeah, I
too.
love plays.
I
Yeah.
love the arts. I
Hmm.
love it.
Hmm.
I even love artists. I'd be like, how in the world did he do that? You know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm
Actually,
saying?
that's what I used to tell my mom I wanted to be when I was really little, an artist.
Okay.
So she gonna well, architecture. There was an artistic piece involved in that.
Well, look,
So again,
yeah,
that path.
right. Crazy as it is, when I was in junior high school, I thought a lot about going in architecture.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
and
yeah,
in
and it's
fact,
not crazy.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
Well, I say crazy
Yeah,
because that's what Harvey wound up majoring in the cast. Well,
yeah,
that's what he
yeah.
and we both were heavy in doing architecture stuff in junior high. He
Hmm.
continued doing it.
Okay.
I did something else.
But that was the same
But
thing
I
with
still
me.
but I still went into art though. I was
Hmm.
in commercial art.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, me
Okay.
too. In high school, I had a drafting class, and I was the only female in that. And I like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
And I'm but we had to do the math because we had to
Right. Right.
draw an eraser. I said,
Yeah.
why did we have to do that to make that? And then I made an alphabet board,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. I was like, what? And I thought I was going to be in that too. But like you said, I knew I was going to get an easy A though.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I got another crazy because you say so you worked on the golf course. Do you play
Uh-huh.
golf? Do you play golf?
No, no, I don't even do miniature golf. And so, they had a driving range. The site it had a lot of contamination.
Uh-huh.
And so the golf course was a good fix because we could bring in, like, I think we used 600,000 cubic yards of dirt and liners and stuff
Mhm.
to make the driving range and the golf course. We dug out a pond because we needed some of that dirt. So you had a beautiful feature to play golf around. And so they
Okay.
did the miniature golf as well. So on the opening day, I played the miniature golf, but I even lost my ball on the miniature golf. So I hit it, and I'm just not, I never did like, and maybe there's a amount of patience
Mhm.
that, you have to, yeah, and it's like, I like the 10,000 foot level. I'm not a real person get into a whole lot of details. Like I said, designing the break, and it's like, let's get it done. I like, getting to the end. So I remember hitting the ball, and we had something called built a nice feature called Mount Hyatt because of Hyatt Clark, and it had all the pretty water and stuff going on. So I lost my ball in there somewhere. That was it.
So scratch
Oh
that
man.
off.
You're right.
I love it. I love
But I have
it.
beautiful pictures, the before and the after.
Mhm.
And it's like, it was a beautiful place. And that was, we turned what was an eyesore into something beautiful for the
Oh
community,
yes,
where they
yes,
could
yes, yes.
drive by, as opposed to seeing this broke down building filled with oil and pits and stuff.
Mhm.
See this beautiful golf course and we gave it to the townships and let them form a commission to
Mhm.
operate it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so, it was a win-win situation for the
Sure.
townships too.
Right. Great.
Mhm.
So do you have any major projects or any projects you can speak of in locally?
I do. Well, and see, what we do now is a lot different, but even the Factory Zero,
Mhm.
that's one of my projects.
Okay.
The Renaissance Center the Brownstown where they make the batteries, and
Oh, okay.
Romulus, Pontiac, and all of these I acquired within the last couple of years, because most of my projects were out of Michigan.
Mhm.
So the Spring Hill project was mine, the one in Tennessee.
See,
Mm.
Wentzville, Missouri, where we just built, the Colorado and stuff. See, I can speak about them because we have these projects. What I do is not very visible.
Okay.
And so what I do is make sure that the environment is protected, that everyone is working in. So
Right. And so
yeah.
not visible, but
Bowling Green was
very
another one of my projects.
okay.
Where we make the Corvette.
Yeah.
That's my project.
Right. I say so it's not visible, but very important though.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
usually how it
We
works.
don't like to be out front. If we're out front, there's a problem.
Exactly. You don't want anybody know who you are.
Right.
Like you say, but you definitely are an important piece.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah. I've had to be involved in some of the public relations meetings where we're talking about, what we've done and what the remedy is, because we try to make sure that everyone, all the stakeholders, understand what we're doing. And if there's dissension, just help educate them on why this is, protective and why it's good. And so, and so it makes a difference when you're not working in a vacuum, but you're, letting people know what's going on, what you're doing.
Sure.
So when there's a problem and they feel like they can discuss it or learn about it, that makes a difference. Just like with the golf course, after we built the pond, then we got complaints about mayflies, and then that was in the newspaper, because now you have a clean environment. Mayflies get attracted to nice, clean water.
Right.
And so there was newspaper articles where people had taken, and these mayflies were all over their front.
Yeah, we know a little bit about that.
So we
love bugs.
So we went to one of the local universities to find out what they would suggest for us to, manage that. And we implemented that and it went away. So, just finding out and being open to be able to talk and discuss what the issues are. And so they're our customers, because we sell vehicles. And so we want to expand our customer base. And so we have happy neighbors. You can have happy customers, and you don't want people not to buy your products because they don't like how you're treating, their neighborhood or anything.
Exactly. Right. Something has absolutely nothing to do with cars.
Yeah.
But because of who does it. A funny story. We went up to Mackinac. Only time we went up there, remember? We get up there Friday evening. It took us forever to get up there because of a bad accident on the road, but it's flies everywhere. And we had a beachfront room, and we had the patio that went out to the beach.
What do you call them?
The mayflies.
Mayflies. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They were all over the place. All night Friday, all day Saturday. And then we got up Sunday morning to leave. They were all dead and gone.
Oh, wow. So you understand what the problem was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I wish they'd have died Saturday instead of Saturday night, so we could have enjoyed ourselves more.
Oh, it was terrible.
But that is a problem, and it's a problem that requires fixing if you can. But
yeah.
But they have their life cycle as well. So.
Right. I know the Lord put us all there for a reason, even them. But I was like, oh Lord, do because maybe they killing off something, while that we need removed.
Yeah.
And they just die off as well, it's always a method to the madness.
Always. So I guess we'll let you go on this. If you had a piece of advice you could give to anybody who might be listening, what would it be?
Well, the thing my mother told me. You have to plan. you have to plan, and your plans can change.
Mhm.
Flexibility is what took me through my career, but I did have plans along the way. And
Mhm.
so you do need to make a plan, prepare a plan, and execute it. Be flexible if things aren't, just falling in place, and to keep on moving forward. Don't get stagnant.
Mhm.
Don't stop. I always love. I remember um, this analogy, and I like football, and so
Mhm.
the coach is they're doing the practice and going through all the plays and everything, and so they're getting ready to execute the play. Quarterback is trying to execute the play, get ready to throw the ball, and there's nobody to receive it,
Mhm.
and it's like, so all of that preparation,
Right.
you weren't in place, to receive it. Was time to execute that plan and to move forward to that touchdown, but you're not there.
Right.
And so you got to keep moving forward.
Right.
Got to keep moving, stay in the game,
Yeah.
stay in the game.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Right.
yeah, you could tell you being the only woman in one of these groups because you using a sports analogy.
Me and my dad used to watch. We still do. I'll go over her house and we watch football.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can tell you being them officers, honey.
Well, I mean, but football, well, sports in general offer great life lessons.
Yeah. Yeah.
They offer
Yeah.
great life lessons.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
because when like you say, when the plan, it's like they say in boxing, everybody got a plan until they get hit.
Yeah.
And then now what you gonna do? And so you gotta have a
Right.
backup plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without a
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Well, you said it. Be prepared.
Be prepared.
Mhm,
When you had that
mhm.
plan, be
Yeah.
prepared.
I remember one day I was pass for scrimmaging over at Cody.
Uh-huh.
And Cole had them run a play, and Cody stopped.
Okay.
They stopped the play. They stopped
Okay.
from Cole, and he
Okay.
said, run it again." And
Mhm.
it wasn't no huddle. He just stood
Uh-huh.
behind the team and said, "Run it again."
Okay.
And they ran it. Then he said, "Okay, run it again." And
Mhm.
they ran that play like 7, 8 straight times. They marched straight down the field, but he just told them, "Run it again."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 We gonna do this till we get it right.
Right. You were prepared. And keep on moving
Keep on
forward.
moving. Yep. And if we wasn't prepared, why wasn't we prepared? Okay, well, let's
Yeah.
fix it. So,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
so what's the
Good
next big
advice.
thing for you?
Well, I plan to graduate from GM this year, and I
Okay.
call it graduation, like I
Yeah.
said before.
Yeah,
Right.
sound good.
So that's exciting. I got actually accepted into this program in December, where I'm working on a doctorate in Christian education.
Okay.
And so I'm planning to write that book about the Black presence in the Bible.
Nice.
That'll be my dissertation.
Ooh.
And so I've collected so much information. It just makes it easy at this point. And actually, and it's been a download from what God has, just been revealing.
Right.
And so,
Right.
as because it's important to Him for us to know. So it's important,
Right.
and I just love that people share with me all the time that they've always wondered, where we have fit in and where and how to recognize us and our contribution. And so I love that the full stories are being told now in the
Yes.
education. And so, and this piece is part of that education that needs to be told. And so we're a chosen generation.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you seen the documentary Unspoken?
No.
Look it up and it's
Okay.
What was it on? Was it Netflix?
I can't remember.
It was either Netflix or Apple TV.
Apple TV, I
Okay.
think it is.
But it's about Black folks in the Bible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Unspoken. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right, because it tells a story. It goes in the Bible, but it tells a story outside of
Okay.
so
Okay.
as well. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't have Netflix.
It might be on Apple TV.
Okay. But I'll Google it just to
Yeah,
see.
you're right.
you know,
You
what
can Google
format.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's
yeah.
a format out there.
Spoken. Okay, good,
Right,
good.
right.
But
And
it's exciting times, I tell you. These are
Yes, it
exciting.
is.
yes.
And
Yeah.
everybody getting PhDs nowadays too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh my goodness, everybody going back.
Well,
You know,
Yeah.
and that's just it's
it's the time for that.
and all our parents
Yeah.
did tell us to educate ourselves.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
I read now more in my 60s than I've ever read before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
And the
know,
history.
and reading the
I love-
word and just it's just
Right.
Yeah, history. I
history.
love history now, where I didn't like it in high school because that was like the fluff class that you had to
Yes,
take, and so I didn't pay much attention. So now, I'm paying attention.
yes,
Right. And
Yeah.
even when they did Black history, it was like fluff.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right, right.
That's true.
It wasn't a whole lot, huh?
That's true. That's
It
true.
was just minimal stuff. She said
But that
Wi-Fi
is so
shut.
wonderful.
But so when you get to that point where you get ready to do that book, let us know.
Okay, okay, great.
Come on and talk about it.
Okay,
Or even before it's done, if you just want to talk about it in creation,
okay,
let us know.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Plus,
yeah.
we'd like to
Uh,
read it.
yeah.
Right. So we're gonna let you go ahead and go. We appreciate you coming.
Oh,
All right,
yes,
thank
we
you so much for having
very
me.
Yeah,
informative.
right.
Yeah.
It was our pleasure, without a doubt.
Thank you so much.
Without a doubt. You got a lot of history
Right.
Yeah.
up here. Because you've been through some stuff that
Yeah,
folks have
yeah,
not been
yeah,
through.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And you still standing.
Yeah,
Still standing.
yeah,
Praise
yeah.
God.
By
All
the
right,
grace
then,
of
man.
God.
All right, I'm gonna give you a virtual hug.
Oh, thank you.
And
Going
thank you
back to you.
so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you.
All
All
right.
right, hug that
Love you
son.
guys. Love you guys.
Love you.
Hashtag strong.
That's right. That's right.
All right,
Take
sis.
All
care.
right. Bye-bye.
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 Uh-oh, the dog want to go.